Right now, somewhere in your body, your heart rate just changed. You didn't tell it to. You didn't even notice. A notification buzzed, a shadow moved, someone behind you cleared their throat, and for a fraction of a second, your whole body prepared to run. You're sitting in a chair. You're safe. But the real answer for why you just flinched is far stranger than you think. Your brain doesn't know what year it is. It doesn't know you live in an apartment with locks on the door. As far as your nervous system is concerned, you are still standing on an open savanna, and something with teeth might be watching you from the grass. This isn't a metaphor, it's biology. 200,000 years ago, your ancestors lived in a world where the cost of being wrong was death. If a rustle in the bushes was the wind and you ignored it, nothing happened. But if a rustle in the bushes was a leopard and you ignored it, you didn't get a second chance. So evolution built you a very specific kind of brain. Not a brain that tries to be accurate, a brain that tries to survive. The psychologist Randolph Nesse calls this the smoke detector principle. A smoke detector that only goes off when there's a real fire seems efficient, but it isn't safe. A smoke detector that goes off too often, even for burnt toast, is the one that keeps you alive. Your fear response works the same way. It is tuned, on purpose, to overreact. Thousands of false alarms are an acceptable price for catching one real tiger. You are walking around today with a smoke detector built for tigers, going off at emails. Here's where it gets stranger. Deep inside your brain sits a small, almond-shaped cluster of cells called the amygdala. The neuroscientist Joseph Ledoux spent decades mapping what this structure actually does, and what he found changed how we understand fear itself. The amygdala doesn't wait for you to think. It reacts to a threat in milliseconds, before the rational, slower part of your brain even finishes processing what happened. By the time you consciously realize that was just a text message, your amygdala has already raised your heart rate, tightened your muscles, and flooded your blood with stress hormones. You don't decide to be afraid. You're afraid first. The thinking comes after. This made perfect sense on the savannah. A half-second of hesitation while you calmly assessed whether that shape in the grass was definitely a predator could have been the difference between living and becoming dinner. Speed mattered more than accuracy. Your ancestors who hesitated to think it through simply didn't pass on their genes as often as the ones who ran first and asked questions later. So natural selection kept the fast, jumpy, paranoid brains, generation after generation, for nearly the entire span of human existence. And then, blink, in evolutionary terms, everything changed. Agriculture, cities, indoor plumbing, the internet. All of it arrived in what amounts to a single afternoon on the timescale your nervous system was built for. Your environment transformed almost completely. Your brain did not. This is why you check your phone 40 times a day for a notification that might be nothing. Why your stomach drops when your boss says, "Can we talk?" Why a strongly worded email can ruin your entire afternoon, even though no one is going to physically hurt you. Your amygdala can't tell the difference between a predator and a Slack message. To your brain, a social threat and a physical one trigger almost the same alarm. The biologist Robert Sapolsky studied this gap directly by comparing humans to wild zebras. A zebra's stress response is a masterpiece of efficiency. A lion appears, the zebra's body floods with adrenaline, it runs, the danger passes, and within minutes, its body returns to baseline. The stress has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Your stress rarely ends. You can lie awake at midnight rehearsing an argument that happened 3 days ago, or one that hasn't happened yet and might never happen at all. Your body produces the exact same stress chemicals a zebra produces while fleeing a lion, except no lion is chasing you. The threat exists only in your imagination, replayed on a loop, and your body cannot tell the difference between a real chase and a remembered one. Sapolsky's now famous observation was simple but unsettling. Zebras don't get ulcers. Humans do. Not because your life is more dangerous than a zebra's, because your brain is sophisticated enough to manufacture threats that don't exist yet and ancient enough to respond to them as if they're already here. Think about what that actually means. You have inherited the alarm system of a creature that needed to survive lions, and you are using it to survive performance reviews. There's something else your ancestors needed that you still carry, even though the world has stopped requiring it. Hypervigilance, constant scanning, the need to always know what's happening around.